stand in his holy place, the one who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not trust in an idol nor swears by it, he will receive blessing from the Lord. I glorify you, Father in heaven, Jesus my Savior, and Holy Spirit my Comforter. Jehovah Shammah, I praise you. Oh, who may ascend the mountain of the Lord, who may stand in his holy place, the one who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not trust in an idol nor swears by it, he will receive blessing from the Lord. I glorify you, Father in heaven, Jesus my Savior, and Holy Spirit my Comforter. Jehovah Shammah, I praise you.
Welcome to Insight, Purpose, and Perspective, the podcast where we discuss today's topics and speak with people living with purpose, guided by faith.
Good evening, everybody. It is a great Sunday evening. Appreciate everybody coming on and watching us live. If you are watching live tonight, guys, I've got a special guest, Cedarian Markell Lee-X. Man, that's a name for you. This brother is originally from Lexington, North Carolina, but he now resides in Winston-Salem. He is 28 years young, born on August 28th, 1996. Guess what? That's two special dates. Emmett Till's death date and the March on Washington, I Have a Dream speech date. Awesome. He is a God-fearing man, husband to a beautiful wife, father to two wonderful children with another one on the way. And he is also an educator and a Black thought leader activist. He enjoys reading, studying history while advocating, fighting for people of color. He's been in the ministry of liberation for people of color for 5 years now, speaking, organizing, and protesting. He's now the leader of the Fruit of Knowledge group, where we journey through our history, discussing and revealing the great Black history in the Bible. So, Cedarian, thank you so much for coming on tonight, man. I know you're a busy man between all the things you do, teaching, protesting, all these great things, and a husband and a father.
Yeah, brother Joe, I appreciate you for letting me come on here and share time, space, and continuum with you.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to jump right into this, guys. I've got a great format tonight. We're going to be delving into exactly what this young man is doing. So, first question: can you share a moment in your life that sparked your passion for activism and leadership in this genre?
Say that one more time, brother.
Can you share a moment in your life that sparked your passion for activism?
To spark my passion for activism.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started my activism, it was part of the George Floyd protest and the removal of the Confederate statue. Now, before that, I was already a little bit, how people would say, woke, as you would say, or either
Right.
or either just like into consciousness, Black consciousness. But yeah, the protest was, I want to say 2019, 2020, somewhere around
Mm-hmm.
there. And we was protesting at first for the brutality of how George Floyd was unalive. And as we know, as Black people in America, and I spell America with three K's instead of a C. We already, we already know how the Blue Klux Klan does their citizens. They don't protect or serve; they kill and harass. So
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people don't realize that police departments that they originated out of slavery. They were like the bounty hunters. They were out here catching runaway slaves. So that explains some of the mentality that they have. But
yes,
you know, nowadays, I don't think it's as much about race as it is about class because they are brute. They brutalize all races of people. You know now, but you know disproportionately, we probably catch the brunt of it more than anyone else.
yes, sir, yes, sir. We
Yeah.
definitely do, especially especially when we go to court and get our charges and get our sentences. African Americans or people of color in general get longer sentences than Caucasians or European descent,
Yeah,
especially
and
when
and
they
and sometimes commit the same crimes, but get a
same
harsher
crime.
sentence. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
You know. So, in your view, what are the most urgent issues facing the Black community today?
Honestly, the most urgent thing that we need, the most urgent thing that we need quite a few. Honestly, we need quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
We need self employment. You know, a lot of brothers and sisters don't have the mind capacity to actually think outside the box to actually be a boss. You know, we rap about the songs about being a boss, and we post about being having money and all that stuff, but we still working for somebody else. You know, we still waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, going to work, as such as myself, you know, as an
Mm-hmm.
educator, waking up 6 o'clock in the morning and still got to go and honestly serve under somebody else. You know, now with what I think is if we actually pull our resources together, we can actually create a nation for ourselves. But we don't want to create a nation. We actually want to crawl back to the plantation, especially especially
Yeah.
how we act. You know,
Well, you
we
know, not meaning to cut you out, but I think that that definitely comes from the long period of time that we were in slavery. You know, many of our people are they still think like slaves. You know, I think, and I may misquote this, but people of color, especially Black people, consume over 90% of all products and services consumed in this country, but we
that's
only
true.
represent 13% of the population.
That's true.
So we have
That's
the
right.
financial resources,
Yes, we
uh,
do.
you know. And I heard, oh, what's that guy's name? Umar Johnson.
Yes,
He
sir.
talked about. I saw this video just a little while ago. It's just for the four things that we don't have that we should have in our communities is a bank, a grocery
Hmm.
store,
Hmm.
a hospital, and it was something else. I can't remember.
Our own schools.
A school, yeah.
Hmm.
You know, and before integration, when we were segregated, I've always been under the opinion that we were better off segregated because you know out of necessity we had our own businesses. We had Black doctors, lawyers, and
Hmm.
all facets, carpenters, because white folks didn't want us. They didn't want us coming into their neighborhoods. They didn't want us coming into their businesses unless we came in through the back way or something like that. And
True.
I think integration has been one of the worst things that's happened to our people. What do you think about
I always say that. I always say
that?
that. For real, for real. People be looking at me crazy like, why do you say that? Y'all got we got better job opportunities. We don't have to go in the back of the restaurant no more. We don't have to sit in the back of the bus no more and all that stuff. But okay, yes, that's all fine and dandy. But now let's look at the facts and let's look at the history of it. You know, when we
Hmm.
was studying on our own terms, you know, when we was policing our own people, we was fine. You
Hmm.
know, we was fine. We even started fraternities. You know, like okay. You don't want me into your organization. All right, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna pull my resources. I'm gonna talk to my people. My people,
Hmm.
we going to pull our resources together to start this institution, you know. And then after that, now if we're gonna open up a Black Wall Street or Wilmington, North Carolina,
Hmm.
places like that, you know. And I also always say we always have a little Chinatown. Everywhere you go in America, you got a Chinatown. You have you have Koreans grocery stores in our
Hmm.
neighborhood. If you have and of course you know the Caucasian people. You already know that they have their own. You know, but where's our own? Where's our little Africa
Yeah.
or our little Kenya or somewhere like that? Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to post this comment here. Sister Shanice posted. She said, "Wow, I never looked at it from this perspective." Yeah, you know, um, and what we're talking about sometimes is very unpopular because it's almost like the Matrix, you know. And what we're talking about cognitive dissonance. We've been conditioned, and now we defend the very system that oppresses us because we think we getting these crumbs
We
off the
do.
table when we could have created our own table. You know. Uh,
It's just like how I talked about the other Monday, the difference between the house Negro and the field
right.
Negro. A lot of people are still house Negroes, and for the people who don't know the difference between the field Negro and the house Negro, I'm gonna try to make it fast as I can. Uh, the field Negro was the ones who was wearing old rubbish clothes and
Hmm.
stuff out in the field, working sun up to sundown. You know what I'm saying? Getting beat and everything. Now the house Negro, he was inside the house. He lived in the basement or in the
Right.
attic. He wore good. He wore good clothes. He ate what the master left him, aka what the
That's
master
right.
left him. You know.
That's right.
uh,
Well, that's
now,
mainly because he was a child of the master because they go into the slave quarters and rape our women and create these I
yeah,
mean, that's basically looking at me. I mean, I'm a
yeah,
product of that. And funny story, I've had people question my ethnicity. Because and we know this thing is dynamic. You got dark skinned blacks who don't like light skinned blacks and vice versa, simply because of the color of our skin. And I think we're the only people who really do that.
yeah. We do, and that goes back to the slave plantation mind that we talked about earlier. Remember our first, I want to say our first live on a
Hmm.
Monday, Fruit of Knowledge, when we discussed
Yeah, the Willie
slavery.
Lynch letter. Yeah,
Yes, the Willie Lynch letter. It had that inside
yeah.
of there. Put the dark skin against the light skin and the light skin against the
Hmm.
dark skin. And it keeps on going on ever since what,
Right.
1772? Or whatever year he came over to Jamestown,
Hmm.
Virginia, all the way now to 2025.
Yeah.
But that's crazy that you said people question your ethnicity because you look straight like a
Well, I
original
tell you, it happened. I was in college. I was going to Winston-Salem State, and I worked in this computer writing lab. And it just so happened that all the lab assistants were light skinned blacks. And we had a grad student come over to help some of these because it was for freshmen to teach them how to write the compositions and whatnot. And he was in there. And we were just having a conversation. And he asked me, he said, "Well, do you know what it's like to be black?" And I'm like, What? I mean, brother, know how fair skinned I may be. And I had hair back then, how many good my hair is. um, White folks don't break us up in the sections like that. If they're racist, whether you light skin or dark skin, well, you just a light skin N word, you a dark skin N word. They don't do
Yeah,
that.
you words in general, and they are.
Yeah, I mean, it really shocked me that he couldn't see that I was black, but because both of my parents are black, but we all have. Wait a minute, I got to show this comment here. Sister Shani. That's how most of us were brought up. Our environment back in my day taught us that light skin was prettier and dark skin was uglier. Yeah, true that. You know,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and again, that's a carryover from slavery. You know, that we've been
It is.
conditioned. You know, but
Yes.
now and that stuff still goes on. But getting back to when you were talking about entrepreneurship, I've been pushing entrepreneurship. You know, but there's a section of our population that are entrepreneurs. It's not legal, but they're
Mhm.
entrepreneurs. Your drug dealers and they build
That's
a
true.
business,
That's
have
true.
employees,
That's
so they
true.
have the skills.
Yeah.
It's just being
Hmm.
able to
But they
redirect
need
them.
to. Yeah, yeah. Now I really do feel like if every single drug dealer, or either every single drug dealer in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, comes together, talk about what's going on in the hood or whatever. Talk about what they need. Talk about how some of the projects or the private owned black communities or whatever is run down. We gonna put all of this money that we just got from our big plug. We're gonna put all this money together and we're gonna build our community back together. Now that's now with history. That's how Bumpy Johnson
Right,
did
right,
it. That's how Bumpy
right.
Johnson did it, and a little bit of Frank Lucas, just a little bit.
Hmm. Well, it's the difficulty is, man. We live in a world now where people that our people, we don't care about each other like we used to. I mean, when I was a young kid and even in the 40s and 50s, if a black person was walking down the street at night and you were driving, you stopped and picked them up because you knew
Hmm.
something might happen to them.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
we
You
can't
want?
do that nowadays because sometimes you pick them folks up and they gonna do something to you.
That's true.
you know.
That's true. But you want to know how we got to that point, because we forgot this one scripture when Jesus said, "Be unto these two, love God with all your mind, heart,
Hmm.
soul, and body, but be likened unto these
Yeah.
two. Love your brother as you love yourself." Now we already know that Moses gave out 10 commandments and 600 plus inhabitants for the children of Israel to do for the will of
Hmm.
God. But when Jesus came and he said on these two, he gave two
Right.
commandments, but there was three loves. You know what I'm saying? Love God, love your brother, but most importantly, love yourself. You can't love
Yeah.
yourself if you don't. You can't love your brother if you can't love
Right.
yourself, and you can't love yourself or love your brother if you don't love
Right.
God. But
Well,
before we love ourselves, this is the key, and this is always the key for me. Knowledge. You got to know yourself. You got to know
that
yourself in
part.
order to love yourself. Now, how do you know yourself? Yes, you should know that you're black. You should know your name and you know your parents and you know the city that you come from and where you live at. But what about further?
Hmm.
What about where your foreparents come from? What about what your ancestors did so that you can do better now? Because somebody thought about me way back then
That's
and
right.
there. Somebody, right? Somebody thought about us. Somebody thought about you too. All the ancestors that was protesting or either having slave
Hmm.
rebellions. They thought about the future. They wasn't thinking about just themselves. They thought about their
Right.
future because they loved us so much. But since they love us so much, we got to do their we got to do their a great duty because they thought about us. So now we got to think about the people that is coming right after
Hmm.
us as well. We got to think about our daughters and sons, or our nieces and nephews, or these low income students in the schools or
Right.
whatever. We got to think about them.
But you know what's the danger, and that circles back to uh, integration. When we integrated, we took on some of the dominant culture's attitudes and ideas, and we've diluted
Yep.
ourselves and lost our unity. And I think we did have a resurgence, with all of these things like, the police brutality and the killings and Sandra Bland and all these things that kind of bound black folks together for a moment. But, the Black Lives Matter movement was tainted because some of those people didn't do what they were supposed to do because they raised a bunch of money. But do you hear about anything that they have done to help black folks?
That's true. I like the motto that they did, Black
Right.
Lives Matter. But where like you said, they was embezzling money or whatever the case may have been or whatever. But the key word that you said was Black Lives Matter was for a moment, and that is
Yeah.
true. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays in this time, in this years, in this generation or whatever, we like to go off of what's trending
Yeah.
and what's not
Yeah.
trending. So if we don't hear if we don't see a hashtag say they name or a hashtag Black Lives Matter, or if we don't see another video footage of a police officer killing another brother or another sister or
Hmm.
whatever, we ain't thinking about protesting. We ain't thinking about a revolution. We ain't thinking about doing for the black community until somebody say something like that. And with the integration thing, once again, I want to say this because it just popped into my
Hmm.
mind. Integration was the worst thing. Why? It's because we messed up when we started imitating
That part.
white people. That's what started to happen. We started to imitate. We wanted to start to live with them. We wanted to go to schools with them. We wanted to take a number two right next to them. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
You feel me? You know.
Yeah. And it's funny, I, how, having lived through that, because I can remember my parents. We lived in it was colony apartments. They were brand new, and we moved over there.
Mm,
And then some other folks moved in, and they brought some little critters. So my mom was like, "We got to go." And they had built this new development over here off Carver Road. Most people might know about it. It's Northwood Estates, and it was populated by black doctors, lawyers, teachers, all of these people, these educated people. And we've
mm,
had,
mm,
but it seemed like black folks, it wasn't enough to just be able to have the things that the dominant society had. We, like you said, we want to be around them, and almost like it was force them to accept us, which they never, in my humble opinion, never really have. Now there are good white folks out there that they're not racist in the sense that they burning crosses or anything like that, but um, you know it, because I think the whole civil rights movement was, to me, my opinion was, it was about having the rights and being treated equal, but not so much wanting to be around these people. Just have the same rights and privileges that any other citizen in this country has. And
mm,
I think we achieved that for the most part. But like you said, the carryover from slavery and the slave mind and the complacency has brought us to where we are now. So
right.
you know, so what are the challenges that you face as a leader, and how have they shaped your approach to trying to create some change?
Uh, Honestly, one of the most challenges that I face is trying to actually make sure that my people is out there cotton picking money. You know what I'm saying? you know, uh, normally the phrase would be meaning uh, negative or whatever. But since we was on the cotton fields picking cotton, I'm trying to make sure that they are out of their cotton picking mind. But a lot of times, brothers and sisters don't really like to hear something that's like that. That's taking their tradition or they up bringing because especially like with Christianity, like black Christians, some of them,
Hmm.
uh, or either just some people that just lost. and just still feel like we are more ahead than we was back then, which is half right. To me, it's half
Right.
right. Now, yes, we are ahead a little bit. We don't see no whites only or no coloreds only or nothing like that. But we still do got mass incarceration that's still
Mm-hmm.
going on. We still got police brutality that's still going on. We still got lynching basically. Like, did you know that the Emmett Till Act didn't actually happen till 2022?
What?
3 years ago.
Man,
3 years
that's
ago.
amazing.
So that basically means, yeah. So that basically means that they was legally, they could have still
Wow,
lynched them 3 years ago
that's
legally.
crazy.
You know, you know what I'm saying. A lot of people think that it was just like way back ago. It People is still living that was born back then. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying. People still living that was still protesting and stuff like that back
right.
then. So we can't really say that it's too far ago or slavery was too long ago because slavery's still going on today. You know what I'm saying? It's just not like you out in the fields picking cotton and you getting whipped and stuff like that. But slavery still goes on. You still got slaves. You got sex
Yep.
trafficking. You got, like I said, you got the workforce. Uh,
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when you bring up the workforce,
literally,
they enslave us by, now we can buy anything we want. They pay us more money,
hmm
but we spend majority of our
hmm
money. We don't reinvest. Everybody got credit
and then
cards. That's a form of slavery.
and then a lot of times And then a lot of right, and then a lot of times we got to give our lives to that job
Mm-hmm.
too. Like we got to give up. Like let's say you only work for let's see, like you only do through the morning shift. Your boss may say, hey, I give you maybe a $2 raise if you can pull two
Mm-hmm.
shifts. And then you say okay because you will thinking about that
Right.
bank that's finna come next week or whatever. So now he's finna bamboozle you now. Now you've on the schedule two shifts every single day
Mm-hmm.
now. And then now he finna add on a day that you supposed to
Right.
have off. You feel me? And now you go back to what you just said. You give me the money, but the money is going straight to rent, bills, gas, my
Mm-hmm.
kids, myself if I do. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then most of it is still going to go back to the white man.
Yeah, you're right. Because just like in my neighborhood, right over here, we got Food Line is the grocery store. Uh, we got
Right.
uh, a East Indian guy that has a hair, sells all the hair products. We got the Koreans who are selling hair products. Uh,
hmm
I don't think there's any. The only black-owned business is the barbershop. All the other businesses are owned by, foreigners of some type. And they
Right.
they they know that we're going to spend our money, and they don't reinvest any of that money. Doesn't come back into our communities. It goes right out, you
hmm
know. And what you were talking about work. I don't put anybody down who works a job. There's nothing wrong with it, but
Oh yeah.
it's a
I mean,
system of
like I
control.
said, I work too.
You know,
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, they tell you when to come to
Yeah.
work. They tell you the most important thing is they tell you how much you're going to get paid, and you ain't got no control over it. Because even when you get a raise, your supervisor decides how much you're going to get. You don't.
Right. You feel me? You feel like if you made want probably like $100 raise, but he gonna give you
Oh
50 cent.
man, I would tell you one time. This is when I worked in the mall, and I worked in a record store. It's not even there anymore. It's called Camelot Music, and the manager. Uh, he evaluated me. He like, I got you a good raise, Joe. Da, da, da. So he's excited, so I'm excited. And he's like, yeah, I got you a good raise. He said, I got you 10 cent. I'm like, wow, thank you, thanks a lot. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. Now, of course, that was That was a long time ago. That was wow. That was 30 years ago. But still, 10 cents. I didn't even see that in my check.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
You
that's
know.
crazy.
And that was one of
Because
the times when I say, and one other quick story. I worked for GNC, and they pay commission on certain products. And I'll never forget. One day I sold $1,800 worth of product. My, just take a guess on what my commission was.
it was still
$38.
it was still
$38.
yeah.
I sold $1,800 worth of product. If it had been 10%, that would have been $180. I could have. That ain't good, but I would have felt good about that. That's almost $200.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And that was the
Especially back then.
day that I decided that I was gonna figure out an exit strategy to get out of making these companies rich with my talents and abilities. And I started that going into entrepreneurship at that time. But I get it. Some people, it's scary to get out there and try to start a business. It's not for everyone. But
That's true.
we should patronize black business owners and help them stay afloat, especially in today's economy.
Mm-hmm.
But the old adage, oh, they all crooks, or their price is too high. Well, but you go to the
Right. Yeah.
mall.
Yeah. You feel me? You
Yeah,
feel me?
go out to the mall and spend $100 on a pocketbook. Come on.
there's a there's a speech that Marcus Garvey
Hmm.
did. It's called "Look for Me in the Whirlwind," and I want to say at the end of it, he said, "Be black, live black, and support black, and buy
Right.
black." Yeah, he said, "Buy black," and this is Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey been off this earth for
Yeah, it's been a minute.
years. Yeah.
But and that's the thing. We don't have strong black leaders like Marcus Garvey or Martin Luther King, or even I definitely put Malcolm X in there. A lot of people, my mother thought he was a terrible person, but she never took the time to find out what he was really about. She just believed the hype, that he was this black terrorist type dude trying to stir things up. But he advocated the same things Marcus Garvey did. I mean, the Nation of
Yeah,
Islam might
yeah,
not have been a great organization under Elijah Muhammad, but he broke away from that and changed his view.
that's true. That's
But
true.
you know,
Now,
so speaking of that, what are some of the leaders, past and present, that have inspired you, and why?
ooh, I love this question so much. Love it so much. Okay, not in order. Actually, I'm gonna try to put it in order. I'm gonna try to put it in order. From I'm gonna name five
Okay.
of them real quick. Five of them. Marcus Garvey, number five. Number four would be Huey P. Newton of the Black Panther Party. Number three would be Robert Williams, who inspired Huey P. Newton to start the Black Panther
Hmm.
movement. Number two, I'm gonna put this one as a live person, Dr. Umar.
Right.
And number one is my favorite brother, Malik El Shabazz, aka
Malcolm
Malcolm
X.
X. Yes, sir. Now, when I was growing up, especially in elementary school, that this is why I always said I was always conscious, because I love Dr. Martin Luther King to death. Like throughout my whole elementary thing, I was drawing pictures of Martin Luther King, making sure I'm reading books of Martin Luther King, going to the school library, getting kids books of Martin Luther King, all of that stuff. I want to say I was in fourth grade. Me and my mama and my papa, we went to Goodwill, because normally we would go to Goodwill. We would go to the music section and look at CDs and tapes. Yes, I'm that old. I'm old school. I'm old school. I like old school
Right.
stuff, for real, for real.
Right.
But my mama was like, "So, ooh." look, Markell, because they were calling by the
Mm-hmm.
middle name Markell. They were like, "Ooh, Markell, look, this the autobiography of
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm X." Mind you, I only watched part of the Malcolm X movie. As a little kid, it was too long for me.
Right.
Like going on 4 hours, it was too long for me. Uh, but that book was too thick for me, really. But
Right.
something told me to just buy
Mm-hmm.
that book, and it was just like for like $2 or
Right.
so. So I got the book, and during school we would have like reading time or whatever, so you can pick out whatever kind of book you want to. I'm coming out my book bag with the autobiography of Malcolm
No.
X. And I'm sitting there reading it, and I'm reading it, and I'm reading it, and I'm reading it, and I'm getting intrigued. So now I want to watch again the movie. Okay, now I see the movie. Now I want to do some more research about this
Mm-hmm.
brother. And then it wasn't till probably like high school when I first found first had my first experience with racism coming out of Walmart on a skateboard. I was a skateboard kid a
Okay.
little bit. Coming out of Walmart. Now, mind you, Davidson County was already counted number 8 most racist counties in North
Right.
Carolina. Uh, white white boy in a pickup truck with his girlfriend seen me. He was like, "So what you looking at, N word?" I ain't think
Mm-hmm.
nothing of it. So I just went on about my business. He went the other way. But in them pickup trucks, you can hear the engine. So I heard the engine coming back. I heard it
Right.
coming back, and I'm going down the street just to go home because I live down the street from Walmart. Live down the street from Walmart. Here he comes, pulled up beside me, and was like, "So what you looking at, N
Mm-hmm.
word?" I like nothing, and he was like, "So is you scared? You scared?" And when he asked me, "Was I scared?" He was reaching for
Right.
something. Me, I'm thinking he reaching for a
Right.
gun. And I just stopped walking and I looked at him. I said, "No, I'm not scared." And then I went back and I told my papa because the day prior, me and my papa had a conversation about
Mm-hmm.
racism, and I was on the fence of saying that racism ain't really it ain't no
Right.
racism no more with me. And then the next day, this
Mm-hmm.
happens, and I told my papa. My papa was ready to go to South Mount or Denton and ready to shoot up anybody he see.
Yeah. I've had that conversation with
Uh,
with a couple of people. They're like, "Ain't no real racism." I say, what it is so subtle. A lot of times you
yeah,
don't catch it. You know,
yeah, you don't
and I
catch
get
it.
accused of
You don't
being
catch it.
hypersensitive. But I say, if you grew up in the time that I grew up, and people that grew up, earlier than I did, that my elders and stuff, each generation has experienced some type. But nowadays, because we so diverse, um, it's it's hard to pick up because sometimes you say, "Oh, you're just being too
Mhm.
sensitive," or "No, you just making something up." No, it was racism. You just didn't want to see it.
Mhm. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
When people tell me now that racism is no more, I tell them about the experience that I
Hmm.
have with protesting or either just living in Davidson County in general.
Right.
When because it's like when we was protesting, I wasn't even the leader of the protest yet. I was just the
Right.
spokesman. You know what I'm saying? Out there giving facts, uplifting the people through the megaphone and
Hmm.
stuff. And here comes white people who was protesting against our
Right.
protest. They came with guns and all of that. One time they came with Kentucky Fried
Oh
Chicken,
man.
lined it up. Yeah, lined it up and said, "Come and eat it. Come eat it." I'm doggone 23 years old at
Right.
that time. That's that's 5 years ago. They said, "Come eat it." Now, when they heard that we won because we was protesting for the removal of the Confederate
Hmm.
statue that was in the middle. Now, when they found out that they finna remove it, these jokers came up there, had a fishing rod, put a banana at the end of the
Oh
fishing
wow.
rod, and was dangling it at any black person that would drive through Main Street or either walk past
Hmm.
them. You know what I'm saying? I done even got death threats or either uh, text messages through Facebook saying "white power MF," you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. So
You know, it's funny. I don't mean to
racism
laugh
still
at what you said, but every time somebody say white power, I think about Dave Chappelle, and he did that bit.
there.
You know,
I know what
yeah, you
skit you
know,
talking about.
Clayton Bigsby, the black white supremacist. I mean, he took that was
Yeah.
brilliant because he took the sting out of that word.
Mm-hmm.
Because it used to bother me to see those people and stuff like that. Now, if I see it or I hear somebody say white power, it just makes me laugh. Because when you said it, I had to laugh because that image just popped up in my head. You know,
But yeah, like I literally had stuff
yeah.
like that. You know, even I had a meeting with the mayor one time. Not alone, but other people
Hmm.
was there, and we was just talking about the experiences and stuff like that. And I ain't say nothing till the end, and I was like, I gave probably like a 3 minute talk or
Hmm.
whatever. But then at the end of that 3 minute talk, I said, if any of them people cross the road and come and harm my people, I pulled out my switchblade and I opened that thing up.
Mm.
I said, I'm protecting them by any means
Right.
necessary. You know what I'm saying? And I stand on that even till this day. You feel me?
Well,
But now,
I understand.
but no, go ahead.
I understand. I don't necessarily agree with violence, but you know, I'm like that with my family. I mean, you know, you try to harm my family, well, you know, I'm gonna have to kill you.
Right,
I'm sorry.
right.
Well, I'm not even gonna be sorry. I mean, you're just gonna have to take this L.
Yeah, yeah.
You
You
know.
feel me? You
So, what
feel
did
me?
that
So that's the
experience,
thing.
meeting with the mayor? What did that teach you in your activism?
That it it taught me something, but it also reminded me
Mm-hmm.
of something. That just because that they come into your communities and smile and shake your hand and try to make sure that you get their vote because the black vote do count. Honestly, the black vote do count. You know what I'm saying? Uh, they would never be for you. They would never find a way for you. Now that's me at that time. You know what I'm saying? Now I done kind of uh, changed thoughts a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Now you can have allies or
Mm-hmm.
alliances. You feel me? And because some of them can do some great help, but the people who's higher up, so like the mayor or the councilmen or the
Mm-hmm.
commissioners or people like that, they will always try to keep you in bondage. They will always try to keep you in bondage. If you ever go to Lexington, North Carolina, back then under the mayorship of Mayor Clark, you will see that that wasn't a city for change, even though that was the slogan for
Mm-hmm.
Lexington, the city of change. It was definitely not a city of change, especially if you came to the main street of it. But yeah.
Well, you know, I believe I agree with you that sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same. But um,
Hmm.
and that's why I swing right back to entrepreneurship. If we control the economics of our communities, um, we would need the government to do some of the things that we want them to do. We could do them ourselves, you know, if our money stayed in our
That's true.
community. Um,
Hmm.
but when you talk about you know, allies and how would do you think you're going to go about trying to build some allies and coalitions and with different communities and different movements? Because you know, I think there's a lot of folks out there who want to do something, but if we combined our strength, we would have more effect.
Mm. Hold on, I gotta think about it very carefully. Mm. Honestly, I'm a revolutionary. I'm a
Okay.
revolutionary. Now, with that being said, I'm always going to look at our people and make sure that our people is helping our people. You know, I want our people to help our
Mm-hmm.
people. Excuse me, the coalition of having other people join is to me would be outside of our mind
Okay.
because that's how a lot of things get infiltrated, a lot of things get bamboozled, a
Right.
lot of things get ran over, a lot of things get kind of sanitized or
I
whatever.
can dig it.
Because I want to say the reason why the NAACP, which I was a member of before, the reason why the NAACP isn't how it's supposed to be or how it was is because they invited the other people inside
Mm-hmm.
of the organization. Now, before I stop my answer, to back up my answer, in the 1950s, there was a unity conference. People from everywhere, from Asia, from Africa, dark races though. You know what I'm saying? And they came together. Rather they was Baptist, Methodist, uh, Episcopalian, or or
Mm-hmm.
anything. Uh, Political differences, you know, they all came together. Even uh, color
Mm-hmm.
differences, but everybody was dark. But they met under unity, and they met under one thing that they seen that they had in common. One dark person said everything was fine until the Belgian came in.
Right.
Another another dark race said everything was fine until the Irish came
Mm-hmm.
in. Another one said everything was fine until you get the
Right.
point. So everybody understood that they had one common enemy or one common
Mm-hmm.
cause to come together under one roof and to discuss how we can get this man off of our necks and how we can continue as a group to actually be
Mm-hmm.
unified. So, but we got to be unified in ourselves before we unify with other
Yeah,
people.
definitely.
Now I know that. Now I know that they can be controversial. Who's the other people? Why is they call other this and that and this and that? Because I'm talking to you militant. I'm talking to you as warfare. Because once we step outside, we is behind enemy lines. Just like
Yeah.
for real, for real. Once we was born, this color, we had a target on our back and a target on our head. But not just from the white man, but from the brother
No
man too.
doubt. But again, it goes back to the slave mind, like Sister Shanice talked about the crab mentality. Um,
Yeah.
so what advice would you give to young people who want to become activists or thought leaders like yourself? What would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
Never stop and never let nobody infiltrate their mind. Because in this journey, you're going to have a lot of people that can pick your mind. A lot of people want to play devil's advocate, or a lot of people just want to see how far you know, or see how far you can control your
Hmm.
emotions. See, can you tick if I say this? You know, never be bamboozled, never be hoodwinked, never be led astray. You know what I'm saying? Once you come into the liberation of stuff like this, or once you start saying that you're a revolutionary, you got to understand what a revolutionary incoming means. Subspace signal.
Well, that is our cue. If people don't know, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. That's probably Admiral Kirk. I might have to go to the Delta Quadrant to take care of some business. So, Darren, I got one more question, and then we're gonna close out. This has been a great talk, man. I appreciate you taking time out. But what's your vision for the future? I mean, what steps do you think that we must take collectively to get where we've been talking about having the unity of our people and to be able to come together and work like we did, like during the civil rights movement when we were definitely more unified.
Yeah, y'all, everybody who was born in the civil rights or either was growing up in the civil rights era was actually all coming together. Y'all always unified. Uh, but how can we get that back in today's society, in today's mind? It's hard, but we got to, number one, we got to support. We got to support black people. We got to support black businesses. We got to support black churches, black mosques, black temples, black books, black authors. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? We also got to respect ourselves. Now that's the hard part. We got to respect
Right,
ourselves. Because if we don't respect ourselves, how can we let this white man or the slave master son respect us?
exactly.
It can never be. It can never be. Number three, number three. What I say? What I say? We got to support. We got to have
Right.
respect, and like he said, we got to have knowledge. We got to have
Support,
knowledge
respect, and
because
knowledge. All
yes,
right.
sir.
All right, brother. I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule because I know you got a family, you got a job, you doing a little bit of everything. And on top of that, you trying to elevate our people. An admirable
Yes,
thing to
sir.
do. But and man, this has been a great talk. We've been on almost an hour.
For real, for real. I was looking at the time. I was like, hold on, it's supposed to be
I
30
know,
minutes.
right? I know, right? Hey, but I knew once we got going, we was gonna, cause like I say, we similar in views, cause just I can tell. But listen, guys, if you have been enjoying the content, I didn't do my housekeeping. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's Insight, Purpose, and Perspective on YouTube. We look forward to. We might have to bring you back on again, man, because I don't think we got through everything. We got through quite a bit, but maybe we'll bring you back again after you've done some more work. Uh, but again, guys, appreciate everybody who has been on with us live tonight. Please, like I said, share this with people you think will be interested in it. And as always, remember, respect yourself, respect others, and always take full responsibility for your actions. We will see you in 2 weeks. Remember, I love you, and we're out.